It is 8:30 and we will call this meeting to order. Good morning, everybody. All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Thank you, Councillor Stickle. All in favor? And that is carried. And that takes us right to our delegations. 818 Studio is here, and we have a very lengthy document that we're going to try to get through. So I'm not sure if Jen or Paul, who's taking the helm, but we'll just turn it over to you. And I don't know what might be easier, because it's a it's a pretty lengthy document. If you want to pause to take questions maybe every once in a while, that's fine with me, rather than wait till the end. So whichever you're comfortable with, we'll just turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. Again, I'm Jennifer Coppa and Paul Conrad is here, and we were doing the community development project. Can you hear me okay? Okay, I did prepare a slideshow actually, so we'll go through the slideshow, and then I can also stop for questions throughout. So if I'm allowed to share, which I am. I'm getting a bit of a sorry, I need to go into my preferences apparently to make changes to be able to share.
While we're waiting for that, Jen, I'm wondering if maybe if council wants to use the raise hand function, if they have any questions, that might be the easiest. So right at the bottom of your screen, if you go to reactions, and you can raise your hand if you have any questions. I think that might be easiest, just to get your attention.
Okay, so can everybody see that now? Great. So welcome. We're going to talk about the Hana Community Development Project today. As mentioned in previous presentations to council, there were some deliverables for this that included the Main Street development plan, community streetscape plan, and signage and wayfinding plan. And these all had supporting project documents. The most recently, you were provided with the whole package, and those included also design guidelines, including policy recommendations for council to implement and adopt. I'm going to talk briefly about the engagement process. So there were 5 distinct engagements throughout the process. We spoke with downtown business owners about participation in the development improvement policy, as well as their plans for future upgrades to their stores. We spoke with youth at JC Sherrick School, and they gave us ideas about what Hana means to them and the sense of place that they associated with it. We attended the farmers market in May and 4 farmers markets in June, and talked with a broad range of people there about the concepts. We had a storefront beside the post office through the month of June, and talked with people as they went by. And then the engagement panels were taken to the Hana Lodge, and residents and staff were able to provide feedback on them. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what we heard. So as you are all probably aware, we did present 3 options for what Main Street could look like. And option 3 garnered the majority of the preferences. So here's a little bit more detail about what is involved in option 3. People seem to really like gathering areas and street trees and some beautification. The gathering areas can only happen if angle parking is maintained on intersection or otherwise, or other bump outs, because there's not enough sidewalk width to have a gathering area on the sidewalks as they are right now. In terms of what people wanted to see for site elements and furniture, the collection A, I guess, gathered the largest amount of preference as well. And I kind of call this a sort of a craftsman style. And so we would be interested in looking at that as the furniture package, maybe not these exact items, but something that conjures up this image and feeling as well. For gathering areas, people really liked the idea of gathering and being able to talk to people. Movable seating was mentioned by a number of people as something that they would like to see. However, with wind, I think we've been looking at something a little more bolted down so that it doesn't blow away, but sort of with the same look and feel. We talked about the existing mismatched benches that the storefront owners have put out, and not to say that those would need to be taken down, because they're great. They really contribute to the character of downtown. But as far as the new furniture goes, then people preferred benches to be all of the same style. And there was a lot of interest in introducing recycling into the downtown area, having something a little bit bigger than the small litter cans that are now on the poles. And then there was interest also shown in bike racks. Really doesn't matter if they're all in one place or spread out along the sidewalk, but something for people to lean their bicycles against. The look of downtown can really be brightened up throughout the seasons by vegetation, and people expressed a lot of interest in the native plants and colorful annuals. So something really cheerful that, makes people smile when they see them. This can be done in a number of ways. We've suggested planters and then ornamental grasses as well, something that can blow in the wind and look really pretty. So moving now into the community portion, I guess, of the engagement panels, we asked people about pedestrian safety, and a couple of the priorities were having increased lighting on some of the streets that are presently dark, and raised crosswalks at the intersections. The raised crosswalks, it's not a speed hump, it's more of a tabletop. So it actually slows down traffic, because it is quite uncomfortable to go over at 50 kilometers an hour. So it does a good job of slowing down traffic and making intersections safer for pedestrians. And some of the other ideas we talked about with the community were what does the infrastructure on the street, what should that look like? And people really liked the low profile rolled curbs, which is a standard already in Hana, so they want to see that maintained. Maybe exploring having those little raised bumps, the tactile indicators at crosswalks, so that kids, when they're running down the street, they know that the intersection is coming up. And same with people who are perhaps visually impaired. And then there was actually some really strong support from a number of people regarding painted scooter lanes. And so it's recommended that the town explore that option, perhaps as like a rollout in a test area, and see how it's used and if it's actually providing safety for the people who are using it. And then if it's a success, then use that in other parts of the community as well. As far as what streetscapes could look like, or the boulevards rather, people really liked the idea of bioswales, but perhaps just because they've got flowers in them and they thought that the city would maintain them. But we have made some recommendations as to what should be in the boulevards that the town can adopt as part of their policy. So we asked about where Hana's gateway is, and we also asked the children, actually the youth at the school, and the majority of people think that The gateway is at Highway 9 and Palliser Trail. And what this means is that that is the entrance that should be the focus of attention and resources, because it is considered to be Hana's entrance, and that's the first image that people have when they enter Hana. And so that should be the area that is celebrated, that looks really nice, that some extra resources are put into in order to put Hana's best foot forward for people who are entering, driving that way. And so we have developed the signage and wayfinding plan with the celebration of this main gateway and entrance. And then there is a secondary entrance at Palliser Trail at 2nd Avenue. And, you know, that could be a lot, wayfinding could be placed there so that people get to that crossroads and they know they go this way to the main street and this way to the curling rink, things like that. We asked about images for, or concepts for the monument sign, which would be one of the 3 signs that announce Hana along the highways. The preference was shown for the wood and steel concept. I understand that, you know, the maintenance of wood is an ongoing issue always. So perhaps longboard can be used, which is like an extruded metal, and it looks exactly like wood, but it has excellent longevity and low maintenance. So we presented some concepts for the wayfinding signs, and they will need some further design, but the preferred one was the one with that showed the hanging basket. So I'm not sure if it's necessarily the basket, but it's got like a grouped sign. It looks it's very neat. So that concludes the what we heard portion of this. Does anybody have any questions about that?
You must be doing a stellar job, because it seems like everybody's okay. So we can continue. Thanks, Jen.
Enthralled. Thank you. Okay, and we'll move on now to the Main Street development plan. So the overall atmosphere or vision for the downtown is a place where you can live, walk around to see interesting things, grab a coffee, people watch, meet people for socializing, bump into neighbors on the street and have a conversation with them. In essence, is to create a destination. So this is just a quick sketch to give an idea of what this could look like on the main street. The Main Street is considered to be those 3 blocks in the downtown, and any of the designs should actually feather off into the community along the side streets and on the transition zone off to the east and west down 2nd Street as well, to sort of tie the Main Street design in with the community. So at each intersection, the bump outs would create different gathering areas, and different elements could be placed on each one to create unique areas in each spot so that each of them is a separate destination. We're suggesting a phased approach in 3 stages. The first would be to create temporary gathering areas with paint and furniture. This would be an opportunity to test out sizes, different parking layouts for handicapped parking, like beside it or further down the block. The site furniture that would be used during this first stage would be able to be used in the future stages as well. So it'd be an investment. And it could be really testing, like are some areas a little bit more amenable for gathering than others, and then more attention could be spent there. And then the second stage would be after the utility replacement under Main Street, then the permanent sidewalk construction could occur. And then the third stage is additional site furniture to enhance the gathering areas. So here's a closer look at how the 3 stages could look at Main Street and 1st Street. So stage 1 is just the painted intersections with the parking layout. Stage 2 is the concrete, the infrastructure, street trees would be included in this as well. And some of the site furniture. Stage 3 is the addition of more site furniture. And then stage 4 is full build out. So Main Street's also going to need activation, which is led or encouraged by the town. In the document, it is recommended that a temporary stage that can be moved maybe between the sites downtown could be built during the first stage, but this could also be more than a stage. It could be have tricycle lessons on it, the art classes. In downtown High River, the venue is an arts community they actually own the lot that this structure is on, and they're fundraising to build their building. So in the meantime, they have a temporary arts space. And then the parking spot pop-ups encourage businesses to spill out onto the street, which activates the street and lets people know that things are going on in the area. So that's all I'm talking about in terms of the Main Street development plan. Did anybody have any questions about anything of that?
Kim?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm not technologically quick enough to find the hand raising button. So just a question, Jen. It looks like in your plan that there's only bump outs on the corners at the intersections. One of the, I guess, designs almost looks like there was some mid-block bump outs, but your plan basically is just corner bump outs, nothing in the mid-block. Am I correct?
That's correct. So there wasn't a big desire during the engagement expressed about the mid-block, the actual like moving. Now I'll just kind of flip some slides. Oops, sorry. About those mid-block bump outs, but there was, there is already a crossing at the Legion here. So just to sort of add a little bit, maybe some planters around it so people know it's there when they're driving by in the summertime, and some extra striping could really make it a little bit more visible, even in the absence of permanent sidewalk bump outs. And then we are suggesting as well a mid-block crossing at the post office. Again, that would not be anything to do with the sidewalks moving into the middle of the street. It would just be with paint and maybe some planters or delineators to mark the crossing.
Okay, no, thanks. And the other question I had, and I meant to ask you last week, Jen, when we talked, I believe in your report, you talk about you had responses back, and maybe Paul can answer this question, from 7 downtown business owners. I might have that number wrong, but I was just curious if what they had to say, and it didn't look like in the report that there was a specific component about what the downtown business owners, those that responded to the survey, said. Was there any consistency or anything that would be worthwhile noting, Paul?
No, honestly, there was a general reluctance on the part of the owners to participate in the full-blown process. I spoke with and essentially interviewed 7 of the 32. I had made 3 or 4 follow-ups from our first May 3rd distribution, but decided after the 4th or 5th that I was done that for a little bit. Nothing really specific in terms of design concepts came from the business community, but lots of critiquing not in a negative way, but lots of critiquing of the boards that we had put together, that type of thing. All 7 interviewed indicated interest in working with the town in moving forward. And from what I recall, one business owner had submitted through DIP, and the Legion had expressed interest in working with the town on that intersection build out for revitalization of their storefront.
Okay, just thank you, Paul. I was just curious, because they're the, they're the ones that are gonna be directly impacted by anything that happens there. And I know in a lot of downtown revitalization plans like this, there's lots of concern from the business owner about especially during construction, how people are going to be able to access their store or their service, and what concessions or what incentives are we able to do to help them out with that. So I was just curious. I know that you tried to get more feedback from them, and I agree with you. Once you've followed up 4 or 5 times, you're just becoming a nuisance with them, and they don't, that'll make them more angrier than anything. So
yeah, just to clarify, Kim, I didn't. There was just a general reluctance, and most of the feedback was the amount of engagement that had already occurred with them. They are major stakeholders in just about all of it, and everybody in good faith had moved forward with them on the various projects. So I think it was, shall I say, just a reluctance to continue to evolve plans and anticipation of, I guess the term I would use is just get it done. I heard that more than once and wondered if it was a local Hana phrase, to be honest, at that point. But I would say that I could identify at least 5 businesses that would want to fully engage with the Main Street revitalization, regardless of where that location was at this point. And we've made a recommendation in that regard at the conclusion of the report.
okay, no, thank you, Paul.
Welcome.
And I think if you look at the plan, it really doesn't directly affect, a lot of the businesses. I guess you look at the dental clinic, losing a couple of parking spots, I guess, in front of their place. And, the rest of it, there's not a lot of impact, I don't think, directly to businesses too, that way, just with the build out that's there. So, but yeah, no, that's good. Any further questions from council? All right, well, let's just continue on. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So now we're getting to the community development part. This community development has a different approach. This is a project-based approach. So as funding becomes available and as projects are identified, they can be designed and put into the community. So this community streetscapes is to improve the pedestrian environment, the sidewalks and lighting and boulevard trees. Seniors amenity areas target the areas around facilities such as the Hana Lodge and the Hana Manor, as well as so those would be zones, which is a 250-meter radius from those facilities, a route which would connect amenities, and scooter lanes as well, which I mentioned earlier should be tested out. Community gathering spots and Hana Lodge walking loop are also little projects that can be implemented when identified. So in terms of the community streetscapes, what they would include is a sidewalk standard that takes into account the rolled curb, which actually takes away from the width of the sidewalk right now. So it narrows it down, making it more difficult for people to pass and a little more uncomfortable for mobility vehicles to use it. So making the sidewalks a little bit wider and having a maximum cross slope so that people aren't moving into the road as they're wheeling along. And curb cuts. I know that as sidewalks are replaced in Hana, curb cuts are included at the intersections. This is just to sort of make sure that you have 2 curb cuts on each corner and you don't just have one that shoots people into the middle of the intersection. This also, community streetscape upgrades could include raised crosswalks, boulevard trees, and beautification, and then streetlights as well for areas that need it. The seniors amenities zone would be, as I mentioned, within a close proximity of a facility, and it would just make it easier for people to get out for a walk in the community. So by providing benches and hanging baskets or planters to make it prettier to sit outside and enjoy the outdoors and go for a little walk into the neighborhood. This could be done at intersection bump outs if there isn't an available boulevard for this to be placed at. And a route that is included as an example in the report is between the lodge and Hector King Hunter Pioneer Park. So along that stretch, there would be sidewalk improvements and intersection upgrades to make it easier for people to get out and go to that amenity. And then the scooter lanes, as I mentioned, although she looks like she is taking off into the air, we got to keep them on the ground. This is an example of a community gathering spot I found in Edmonton. It's just it's a delightful little spot where neighbors can get together and sit on a bench. Wi-Fi could be provided if that's an option the town wants to explore, just to make it easier for neighbors to gather in their own neighborhoods and provide an interesting little look, I guess, at what Hana has to offer in the middle of the residential community. And then finally, it's the Hana Lodge walking loop. When the residents at the lodge were talking about what they would like to see, they did mention a walking loop at the lodge because sometimes they don't necessarily want to get out into the community, and crossing Palliser Trail could be perceived as quite a barrier. So just a loop to make it so that you can walk in a circle and you don't have to backtrack. It's actually, it really makes the walking experience a little bit nicer if it is in a loop, and then providing benches along the way. So, and here's just a concept of where some of the improvements could take place. You've got the manor and the lodge and their amenity areas, and they do overlap a little bit. The route links the lodge and Hector King Hunter Pioneer Park. And then intersection upgrades could be prioritized based on whether they're close to an existing facility, a recreational facility, a park, a school, in order to make it safer for people in that small area to make it to that park across the intersections. So, and that is my overview of the community development portion of the plan. Does anybody have any questions about that?
It looks like we're good.
Okay.
All right, excellent, thank you.
So now into the signage and wayfinding plan, as I mentioned.
Jen, I'll just, Councillor Jensen has a question.
Sure.
Sorry, it took me a minute to find my hand. I'm just wondering, for the senior amenity route, if that would be maybe just, I guess, made a little longer so seniors can access the senior circle hall as well. You know, if it goes to Hector King Hunter Park, about a half a block further, 1 block further, would provide the access to the seniors hall. Just know that, well, maybe once COVID is over, they will have things at the seniors hall for them, but it was just a thought.
No, that's great. I can just, I mean, it's an example. I can extend it because, yes, I think that there'll probably be more things for them to do at the hall than at the park. Thank you. Okay. So signage and wayfinding. So as I mentioned, the main entrance to Hana should be celebrated, and some effort put into making the appearance look really good for visitors who come in. So I guess there are 3 elements to that. The first is the monument sign replacement. So that could be done to all monument signs so that there is a cohesive look established. And then the blue hatched area is enhanced boulevard landscaping zone. So have some additional criteria for that area in terms of maybe the curbing and what the boulevards can look like. Of course, that's always going to be a conversation between the town and the businesses, and that'll have to be explored at some point. But have it like in greater standards for that area. And then there are 2 smaller green dots, the gateway signs. So have some sort of suggestion of a gateway that now, because you can't see the town, very much of the town from the highway, this is sort of a, okay, we've told you that there's a town and here's some extra signs that say, yes, there's a town, so just keep driving in. Because if you stop at Tim Hortons, you dot into the town and you don't necessarily know what Hana even looks like. And it will sort of hopefully draw people in. So these are the a couple of the concepts for how to celebrate the town entrance. So first of all, you'd have the highway monument sign along Highway 9, and then with some minor upgrades to the existing electronic sign at the corner of Palliser Trail and the highway. It could be branded the same as any new signs, and then some sort of gateway maybe at the railway area where and incorporating the Legion sign, redoing that so that it does fit in with this concept as well, and looks really neat and clean and all integrated. And so Main Street revitalization should also be celebrated. So to tie in with the improvements along Main Street, like the hanging baskets, lights and things like that, then you could put a gateway before you get to the Main Street to announce, this is a special area. We're really proud of this area. This is where you should come. So the wayfinding strategy is designed to support the celebration of the main entrance and the downtown revitalization. So phase 1 would be for people entering from the main entrance. Here are the wayfinding signs that they need in order to get to the destinations that are important in the town. And then subsequent phases could be, entering from the different entrances. Then these signs would be needed to let these people know where to go through the town. Although I think that a lot of people who enter from the other entrances might already know where to go. And to continue the cohesive look and feel.
Jen, I'll just, Councillor Bowden has a question.
Sure.
Sorry about that. I was just wondering if there's also any sort of signage that you're looking at on the east side of town as well, or?
I think that would be like from the Highway 36.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be more of a later phase. It depends on I guess funding essentially.
Actually, it would still be on Highway 9, but it's just on the east side. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just further east.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On this particular map, I've put the entrance up Pioneer Trail as the number 2 priority, and so the number 2s would be the signs that would be associated with the people coming in from that entrance.
Okay. Thank you.
So continuing the cohesive look and feel, the replacement of town-owned points of interest signage would be replacing with the new brand, I guess, and the concepts. not necessarily now putting a new standalone sign in front of something that didn't have one before. So if there are some wall signs that can be replaced, that's a fairly quick and easy and I don't want to say cheap, but less expensive option to really make everything cohesive at a lower cost. Oh, so well, I guess that's the end of our. Are there any more questions about the signage and wayfinding?
Kim?
Just a comment for council. I know when Mark and I have reviewed this, and I think Tammy and Dre had some thoughts on it earlier. One of the things just to think about on the entrance signs is we have Home of Nickelback on them. And I know that, some of the people we've talked to, that's one of the, even when we met with the chamber last week, that was a question raised from one or two members was, are we going to lose that recognition? Are we going to be able to somehow incorporate that in entrance signage if we move forward? So it's something that we gotta keep, I think, just as we move forward and keep it under consideration is how we want to do it. I know we've talked an ideal way would be to get those people into town, whether through it's an Instagram post or point where they can come and do something with Nickelback figurines with the murals on the facilities. But I know that I know it's a very passionate subject when you talk about Nickelback and the success they've had and how well known they are. That I know a lot of people I think would be disappointed if that wasn't recognized at the entrances. I know we've had a lot of other successful, famous people, but they seem to be the ones that draw the most interest right now. And I think we just have to keep that in mind as we move forward, how we may be able to incorporate that to not hurt some feelings. So, and I think that's the only, the other thing I wrote a couple notes down. Oh, the other thing I wrote down, Jen, on the town entrance plan, and I don't know if you can go back to that slide that had the blue hatched areas right there. My only concern with that, Jen, is where your blue hatch goes on Highway 9. That's an Alberta Transportation property, Alberta Transportation responsibility. So ultimately, if any improvements we want to do in that area for beautification, we'd have to certainly have their approval. And I know they're very focused on traffic safety. And so just wanted to point that out, that it might not be as easy to do those areas as the other blue hatched areas that move into town. And just the clarification, I know Jen had mentioned kind of updating and working with the Legion sign. I think she was referring to the chamber sign. So the Chamber of Commerce sign that's at the entrance there. We had a discussion with the chamber about that just for council's awareness and kind of went a little off the rails. We had one individual definitely with the chamber who felt that sign was critical, was important, was well used, was a priority that it had to stay. I think some of the other people involved in this process who maybe don't have as direct link to the chamber felt that, whether it was effective or not, there was some questions around that. So that's the sign, and that's the area that Jen was referring to, that perhaps we could, if the chamber wanted that sign to stay in that location or in that vicinity, we could help dress it up and make it look more attractive and maybe be more effective. So, and I know it's a revenue stream for the chamber too. So it's something we have to keep that in mind too. At the end of the day, if we say, no, we don't want that sign shouldn't be there, that has a financial impact on their organization. So those are my only comments, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, thank you. Director Armstrong, you had a question?
I do have a question for Jen. I just want to clarify in the images that we've seen, and I think I brought this up early in the process and the question was answered. So I just want to make sure. So in the images that we've seen, I'm going to pick on the wayfinding signage on the posts and the facility signage, even that one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. So the colors, the shapes, the information that we are seeing it's not about that. It's about the post and the fact that it's a grouped sign, for example, and that the actual sign would still have to be designed. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Councillor Bowden has a question.
Yeah, I had a question about the Main Street bump outs. We have a lot of commercial deliveries on Main Street, and I am just wondering if that's been considered or if that is sort of leading to some sort of relocation away from front Main Street deliveries. You know, I'm sure that there's some that they might be turning and may overrun some of the, may not have enough room to make the turns if they're delivering off or accessing off the Main Street.
Yeah, the bump outs would need to be designed so that they can accommodate trucks turning, which they typically can. The truck would pull slightly over to the left and then go around the bump out and be able to make it back into the lane. What you would do is put the stop line for the approaching cars back away from the intersection to give the trucks enough room to come around. So it's entirely, totally accommodates large trucks.
But, and so has there been some discussion about changing frontage delivery to maybe alleys or not?
Some people did mention that during the engagement, and they said they didn't want to change it to the alley deliveries. I don't think that most of the block would still be just the angle parking that it is now with the same width of the sidewalk. So there'd be no change to that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Nakota.
Yeah, just for Director Armstrong. So just to reiterate, the design of the signs would be made with our marketing group that we've been working with. So basically the 818 group is kind of doing the location and some of the concept, but then the actual design of the signs would be with the marketing group that's helping with the logos and the branding.
Awesome. Thanks for that clarity. Any further questions?
Yes. How does the plan look at the existing four-way stop signage on 2nd Avenue there on the two main blocks? Is it anticipated that those would be removed and a different type of stop sign be employed on the corners, or would they still be implemented within the new design frame?
Yeah, the stop sign would need to be relocated from the middle of the road onto the sidewalk bump out.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Any further questions? All right, we'll turn it back to you then, Jen.
Okay. So this report and these plans have been prepared so that the town of Hana is prepared to take advantage of funding programs as they're announced. The first part of the framework is community development. This involves engaging expertise to coordinate and provide leadership for development opportunities. This would include preparing capital programs, promoting the development improvement policy, and adopting the design guidelines as policies to get everyone on the same page moving forward. Community collaboration is key to leveraging the resources available for revitalization. The town should formalize its working relationships with Cactus Corridor, the Chamber of Commerce, and downtown businesses to support the development and revitalization of Main Street and the community as a whole. And Main Street revitalization is phased so that stage 1 can easily be implemented in the spring, building on the momentum generated by the engagement and serving as a testing ground for those who are still unsure about changes. Community development upgrades can be identified by council, town administration, or residents. And when they're identified by residents, it really encourages buy-in and people taking pride in their community. And then phased implementation for wayfinding is based on the celebration of Hana's main entrance and will allow it to present an appealing look to visitors. And there is some funding for that. So that can get started as soon as possible. And I believe that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any final questions? Steps going forward? Kim, go ahead. Yeah, Kim.
Just not necessarily questions, Mr. Mayor. I just want to be clear with council, make sure council's on the same page. So the challenge, the challenge we have, as we all know, we're entering in an election here in a few weeks. And the premise of the plan, as I had in your background report, it's the cost to implement these suggestions as put forward is significant, huge, financially. So the challenge would be, focusing, as Jen indicated and Mark has indicated, he does have a, limited amount of funding for signage that can probably be started on and implemented fairly quickly. When I say fairly quickly, we're kind of to the end of the fall here, would probably be a spring next year project. So there is a little bit of money in place there that won't necessarily impact the town directly. But as we move forward into the downtown, for an example, if we're replacing the underground infrastructure, right there is 2.8 million estimate. The above ground stuff, especially with the concrete bump outs and site furniture and all that stuff is in the report. The downtown, you're pushing in excess of probably $6 million. So it's a significant, huge amount, probably would be the largest capital plan in the town of Hana history. So we have to, we're advocating, we're working with the federal government through their Canada Community Revitalization Fund, which is a smaller grant, which we're hoping we could put towards some of the site amenities, furniture, trees, those types of things. But we're also working with WED, and I know they've changed their name, but I'm going to use WED for, through their coal infrastructure fund for the underground and the remaining portion. So there will be an expectation from WED as we move forward that there will be funds put in by the town of Hana, and we've estimated 25%. So there's going to be a lot of things that have to happen and occur before we can move this forward, specifically on the financial side. Then again, coming in with a new council, of which we will have a minimum of 4 new councillors or elected officials who may not know a lot about this project. And as I've said to Paul and Jen, it may not even be a priority of a new council. They may look at it and say, yeah, no, it looks nice, but that's not our priority. We're going to invest our dollars elsewhere. And that's their prerogative as they move forward. So lots of things still up in the air as we move forward, Mr. Mayor. But like I said, first of all, we have to have education of the new council in terms of what this plan is, why it was devised, how it could move forward. Secondly, we need to confirm funding from those outside sources. And once those two follow through, if the new council, this is still one of their priorities, that's great. We'll be able to continue to push forward and move forward on it with WED. Hopefully we can convince them to provide that significant funding and we can move forward on it. The community streetscape stuff, as I've said to Jen and Paul, council will have to look at that and say, do we really want to start picking some streets and trying to implement at the corners or wider sidewalks or stuff like that as we move forward? We've been in the process, as council's aware, of specifically dealing with sidewalks, replacing them and trying to bring them up to speed. And as Jen mentioned, when we do get to a corner, if we're tying a sidewalk in either direction, we put in a curb, so handicap accessible. So lots of dominoes here. Unfortunately, timing isn't good. If we were, a year back with this group, I think we'd be able to get a clear direction of how we're going to move forward. But I think we'll keep moving it forward. I do believe, as I've said to Jen, the information is good information, and it really provides us administratively a lot of support when we're trying to access funding from outside groups, because it gives us the plan, it gives us the cost, it gives us what we need to move forward, versus going to WD and saying, well, we'd like to redo the downtown and we think it's going to cost this much. We've got some concrete plans, concrete costs, and concrete objectives. So lots still in the air, unfortunately, but we're going to continue to move it forward. And I've indicated to Paul and Jen that once we have our new council on board, we'll have to see, as council's aware, the first part of a new term is quite busy, especially if you're a new councillor. So, but we'll have to get Paul and Jen in to give them an update, maybe even a further background to why we even went down this road with 818 and through the funding that Mark was able to get through Cactus. So I just I know it's great and everybody sees this stuff and they get excited and they want to go, but we do have some steps that we have to get through before we can keep moving it forward. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. If council has any questions on next steps or funding, we'll certainly do the best we can to answer them.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Is there any further last questions from council? Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, Jen and Paul. Great presentation again, as always. We really appreciate all the work you've done. And as you know, we do have an election coming up, and there are 4 of us that have not chosen to seek re-election. So we thank you for the work that you've done for the town of Hana. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your support.
No problem. Okay, so with that, I would entertain a motion. The council thanks representatives from 818 Studio Limited for their update on the Hana Community Development Project and direct administration to place the draft Hana Community Development Project final report on the October 12th, 2021 regular council meeting agenda. Thank you, Councillor Bowden. All in favor? And that is carried. And of course, as always, if you want to stay in on the meeting, you're surely welcome, but I'm sure you have something better to do this morning. So thank you again. Okay, so that takes us to public presentation, which I don't believe we have anybody, Mr. Neal. All right, thank you for that. Chief Administrative Officer report, Mr. Neal, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just before we move forward into my report, something I should have maybe said when Jen and Paul were on. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it, this is an information meeting. We can't really make any concrete decisions. So when we say we're bringing it back to the October 12th council meeting, we're basically bringing it back so council can accept the report and the plan for information, which then, means it's a public document, free to share, free to promote. So we're not bringing it back on October 12th to make any big decisions about it, but just accept it for information, that it's a document that council has seen and is willing to put forward out to the public for information. So that's where we're at there. In my report, just want to touch base on a couple of things. GFL we've been working with, still have had a few challenges lately with odor. As recently as trying to get my days corrected, Monday, I think. So we're moving forward. I know our guys have been working out on the site the last 2 days, installing water and sewer to tie in out to Jerry's Burger Bar and the residents there. And they've indicated to me that they haven't noticed any smell or there hasn't been anything significant. The only time they did yesterday when they were working is there were a few loads of the bad material still out there and they were hauling it out yesterday. And I know Brent told me is, when they loaded it into the trucks, it was very ripe. But Brad had called me late yesterday afternoon and said that they had all of that material removed. So we hope that that's solved the issue. We'll keep monitoring it and following through with that. And yesterday they did start, if you haven't been out on the site, yesterday they did start blending the fertilizer with the sulfur and creating the final product. So they are actually doing that, had started that yesterday. So I know Councillor Olson had a question, I believe, in regards to this.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I did get a text from Randy at HMP that there was a sulfur smell yesterday, not the rank ammonia. They said there was a sulfur smell. I drove out there and saw they were loading stuff. So I had assumed that was it, and hopefully that was going to be the end of it. But if that's part of the mixing thing, again, when I was out there, it was, of course, 2 hours later. I couldn't smell anything myself. But again, if that's going to be an odor every single time they blend something, it's going to continue to be an issue.
Yeah, I don't know, Councillor Olson. I know, like I said, I talked to our crew who was out there all day yesterday, and they said, it was inconsequential. If they really thought about it, they go, oh, yeah, there might be a small touch there. But they said, in their minds, working there, it was not a big issue at all. So, but that was right there. We know how wind can change things, whether the wind wasn't right where they were at. I know if they were working right at the west entrance, their main entrance to their facility. So, and they were there all day yesterday and are there today. So, we'll have to, I've told the people at Hana Motor Product that we're going to continue to focus on that and continue to work with that and do our best to make sure that they're satisfied with the product as we move forward. And in my discussions with GFL, they've indicated to me that they want to be a good corporate citizen and they don't want any issues either. I know talking with them yesterday, they had gone over to get lunch at Jerry's and had talked to the owners there because owners had some concerns before. And according to Mr. Walls, he indicated to me that they were quite satisfied with everything since he had met with them a few weeks before. Everything was much better and they were happy. But I don't know if it's something, Councillor Olson, where there's going to be tiny odor and whether that's acceptable or not will be, I guess, a council decision. So.
Councillor Bowden has a question as well.
Yeah, I was just a little bit concerned with some communication with Mr. Walls because he has indicated several times that that was the last load of the smelly stuff. And are we getting the right information? Like how many more loads or of this stuff is actually there? Has it all gone or what? Like about a week and a half ago, I was told that that was the last load. And then we heard later, well, no, that's his last load. So I'm just a little bit disappointed in the accuracy of some of the information we're being given direct from the source. Do you find that at all, or?
Yeah, I as I expressed in my report, it's been a little frustrating because I've been given told a deadline, it'll be off by this day. And then when I follow up on that day, that target had moved a few days to, oh no, it'll be Tuesday. And like I said, I know when I was out there yesterday, from what I believe to be the bad material, there wasn't much there. And I know when I talked to our crew who was working out there, they said that they were hauling it out yesterday, and I haven't been out there to confirm, but I know Mr. Walls phoned me late yesterday afternoon and to let me know that it had all been removed. Again, that's probably a week or so or 10 days later than originally he had indicated it would be removed, but he indicated to me that it was completely gone. So that's all I know at this point in time.
Like, is there any way that we could, I don't know, suggest that maybe anything that is hauled in can be treated with this odor smell as a preventative instead of a reaction to, complaints from community?
My understanding, Councillor Bowden, is the new material or the material that they will be using is fully compostable, composted, gone through the process. And I know that the stuff that they did have on site a few weeks ago, I was out there and they would dig into the pile and it smelled like dirt. I think some of you had seen that. That's where I think from our perspective, we need to continue to focus with them that is the only acceptable material that they bring in. If we get other material that comes in, whether it's chicken manure or whether it's not fully cured or through its composting stages, then we've got an issue. So at this point, I'm trying to be the optimist at this point, and I know it's frustrating to some of the businesses who may have some concerns with it, but I'm trying to be the optimist, and I'm hoping that we've got rid of that bad manure smell, and we're not going to have that smell anymore. Whether there's a small sulfur odor when they're mixing, that I can't confirm or do anything because they just really started that yesterday.
Yeah.
So, and I know they're hoping to actually, I know when I talked to Mr. Walls yesterday, they're doing a very rough blending operation right now because they don't have all their equipment in place. So they will certainly be refining it, and they want to actually refine it inside one of those structures so that it will eliminate any wind issues or potentially even odor issues if there's a wind being able to blow it across. Because right now it's fully exposed out on the ground. So that's all I know at this point in time. I know it's been frustrating for council. I know it's been frustrating for some of our business owners, and I'm just trying to be optimistic that we're moving in the right direction. But I have told the business owners to keep us in loop, keep us in the loop if they're having any issues, and we're going to continue to try and push GFL to deal with the issues. And I said to them, worst case scenario, a decision of council can be to give a stop work order. It's a major step, and it's kind of a step of last resort. But if council today decides that's the step that needs to be implemented, then that's the decision we move down with. So,
Or could there be fines because we were told they would not bring any, that the stuff that they were bringing in initially would be the non-odored material, and stuff happens. I realize that, but it's a different story when it's affecting our community and such. So
I don't believe right now, Councillor Bowden, that we're in a position where we can fine them. Like you have to have a bylaw or something that they're opposing. I think our option would be to put a stop work order on from the development permit side, because the development permit side did say that they needed to be able to control odors, dust, those types of things. So if we wanted to hang our hat on the fact that they're not controlling the odor to our satisfaction, then we could give them a stop work order. So
okay, thank you.
Any further question? Okay,
no.
Just wondering, any further questions on GFL? Councillor Bowden? Oh, you put your hand up, sorry. Okay. Yeah, okay, go ahead then, Kim.
So just there, secondly, demolition. I think you'll probably have noticed if you're out in town, the They have prepared all of the buildings for abatement, so they'll be all sealed, ready to move forward, and they are focusing initially on the Seymour, and that's the biggest, most abatement. So they're working on that as we speak. Just wanted you to know that the commission did give the town a discount, as they have to other municipalities, on the material that would be hauled to Youngstown. So that fits within the budget parameters that we had. Just wanted to bring you up to date a little bit on dam safety and dam regulations. So the Alberta Environment and Parks has implemented in the last few years a new dam safety regulations, and they're trying to catch up with the hundreds of thousands of dams in the province. So as you're aware, we did have an inspection in July with them. We haven't seen the results of the inspection, but one of the things that we are required to do under the new regulation is determine the consequences if there's a breach. So if the dam let go, what are the consequences downstream of that, whether it's high? I think they have a low, a significant, and a high. And depending on how it's rated, you have to implement either more inspections or more detailed inspections. You have to have a dam safety plan. So there's a lot of work that has to happen. So we've retained MPE because the consequences classification has to be done by a professional engineer. So we've retained MPE, and they've started to do some preliminary work on it. It's probably going to take them till the spring to get through all of the consequences stuff, but it's going to be, and the estimated cost to do that work was about $25,000. So that's on Helmer Dam, or sorry, Fox Lake. Helmer Dam is actually owned by the Henry Kruger Regional Water Services Commission. They're the ones that have the dam ownership on it, and CN Reservoir. So, but with Fox Lake, it can breach into Helmer, which then can breach Helmer. So lots of stuff there. We think from a layman's perspective that, you know, our consequences would be fairly low with Fox Lake because of the surrounding lands. And there's lots of land for the water to spread out over. It's generally lower. But I know when the engineers look at it and they say, well, obviously Highway 9 is a concern. If it was ever to rise up above Highway 9, that's a consequence. If it follows down the canals all lead out past our lagoon. So whether it ever would breach into the lagoon. So they have to make sure that it's not going to fit all of those places. So I just wanted to let you know we've started that. In talking with MPE, there's hundreds of communities in the same boat as us. We haven't, to be honest, done anything with the dams or anything at all in terms of inspections, in terms of safety, in terms of anything. So we're starting from scratch. And, you know, you look at Fox Lake dam work that was done in 75. So we're 45 years into it. And now we're having to do some work on it. So I know it'll be something that will be an ongoing thing with the new council and future councils as we move forward. So just want to let you know we are going down that train. I think we're going to be okay budget wise in 21. We do have some money in we've put aside annually for engineering work that may come up during the year. So I think because it's going to play out over a number of months, we're probably going to be okay. 21, I don't see it being a financial issue to us. And the last thing I just put down, I just wanted council to know.
Councillor Bowden had a question.
Okay.
Sorry, I was just wondering if the government then is looking at putting any money towards these projects or not?
Not at this point,
Okay.
no.
Thank you.
They consider the town the owner and responsible for meeting the regulations that they will establish. So it would be great, Councillor Bowden, I agree 100% because there could be some significant costs down the road as we move forward. So, and if that happens, I think that's a perfect case for council today to lobby the province to step up in some fashion to help. So Just wanted to touch base with council a little bit on Truth and Reconciliation Day. We haven't had this discussion. It is tomorrow. A number of places, I think we all are aware that the federal government mandated it as a statutory holiday for all federal employees and federal arm's length agencies. Province of Alberta has chosen not to recognize it as a stat holiday and basically have left it into the employer's hands whether they wanted to recognize it as a stat holiday. Administrative wise, that was never on our plate that we were going to come to council and ask for a stat holiday for this, but we did feel that as a municipality, we had we were going to try and recognize that it's Truth and Reconciliation Day, and so we are going to have some social media posts on the fact that it's Truth and Reconciliation Day, and the town of Hana, supports this. The other thing that we've done, a number of municipalities are lowering flags. So we are going to lower, not all of the flags, we're going to lower the flags at Memorial Park. And we thought we would lower the flags at the VIC just for highway traffic. So we're going to do that. So they'll go down tomorrow morning and then our staff will put them up on Friday morning, and we'll have some social media posts tomorrow. The other thing, just to, if you're into this, it is considered Orange Shirt Day tomorrow too, if anybody wants to wear orange to show support for this. But I just wanted to let you know that we're not changing our operations. Everybody will be at work. It will be treated as a normal work day. But we are going to do those measures I indicated on social media and the lowering of some flags just to recognize that day tomorrow. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or concerns or comments about that, but
Doesn't look like it.
okay, so that's all I have, Mr. Mayor, unless there's any questions about any of that or something else that council wishes to address.
Councilor Olson.
Just a question for all the demolition. Is everything on schedule? Like, I know I see all kinds of, abatement construction around stuff, and gross things getting hauled out of the Seymour. But just want to make sure things are actually moving along as intended for them.
Yeah, no, I think when we, I think it's moving along according to plan. The challenge you have, and I think, like I said, to contractors, time is money. So they're not going to be taking extra time if they don't need to take extra time. So they want to get through and get in and get out because, as I said, time is money. To date, everything has gone fairly well. I know that they asked our guys if we could help them with, there was some topsoil dirt that had been kind of pushed in around the northeast corner of the Seymour. So I know we took the loader over there to pull it back because they wanted to be able to remove the lead paint from the structure. And lo and behold, they found a cellar door down there. And I think our loader almost went wheels down in it. So, but it didn't. So that's kind of the only surprise that I've heard from. The other thing too, is I know one of the environmental abatement people did proceed into the Central Meat Building and did enter it. And they had indicated they found some additional material that wasn't on the original report, but and they wanted to get it tested, but I haven't heard anything further to that. I know that the project, not necessarily the representative from Pacific Blasting is going to be in town on Monday. So I'm going to meet with them, make sure everything's on board. But as far as I know, everything seems to be good. We haven't got to that good point yet where we're going to see buildings actually come down, but I'll certainly let council know when that's going to happen. And of course, I think through social media, people will know when it's happening as soon as it starts. But that's all I know. And I guess as far as I can tell and what I've been told is everything seems to be on schedule, and everything seems to be no big surprises they've found yet anywhere. So.
Councillor Bowden has a question.
Yes, Kim, there was a discussion about the sign off the Seymour. Have you heard anything about any arrangements for that at all or not?
The only comment I have is I did discuss it with the previous owner, and Mr. Karg indicated that he would like to see the sign saved, and he would like to see the sign possibly go to the museum or some entity similar to that. I've challenged Brent just to see, excuse me, how we can take it down. I'm not sure, the exact process involved with how we can take it down, whether we need a picker truck or whatever. But certainly the previous owner has indicated that he would like to see the sign saved and go to someone who's going to, a not-for-profit who's going to save it, such as the museum, and have it on display. So we're looking at that when we get to it, and when the demolition group gets in, whether they have any ideas to how it can be removed safely and taken down. So certainly it's something we want to save and we want to have kept for history's sake.
Is Mr. Card willing to help with that or not?
I don't believe so, Councillor Bowden. I believe he's basically sold it to the town. It's the town's, and he has indicated that his preference was to see it saved and go to the museum. So. And
is the museum aware of that or not?
I haven't had any discussions with any of their representatives. I think that Councillor Campion had a call from someone about that and who was saying it should go to the museum. I don't know if he was a museum member, but he indicated that he felt it should go to the museum.
Okay, thank you.
So that's where that's at, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, good, thank you. Any further questions? All right, thank you for your report. That takes us to a couple of business items. 6.1 COVID-19 operating plan update. Mr. Neal.
You guys are sick of COVID updates, but I think we're moving ahead. The one thing I did want to make sure council was aware, we did want to get the ice in early. Our goal was to have the ice in this weekend with the rodeo relocated and the rummage sale not occurring. Unfortunately, when our technician was here to do some work, we generally have it planned to do a compressor overhaul. And they went to look at it, found that all of the ammonia in the system was gone. So he went up and found a pinhole in the condenser, which is the unit that is above the building. And it cools the ammonia, runs through that, and that's the vessel that cools the ammonia that's then inserted back into the floor of the ice plant. So he did find a pinhole. Back when I was here in the 90s, we had some issues with it, and it's a special grade aluminum, and because it's a high pressure vessel, has to be approved by boiler and safety branch and a bunch of places to be able to do work on it, and you have to have a special ticket to weld the aluminum. So my understanding is we've got that in place and should happen tomorrow, and then we'll get the ice plant, hopefully get it completed, get it fired up, with the indication right now that we would be open for October 8th. So we didn't gain the week we wanted to because of the issue we found, but that sometimes happens. So that's where the arena is. We're anticipating minor hockey, figure skating will continue with a pretty normal program. Yeah, spectators will have to wear masks, physical distance, stuff like that, but they can be able to have their events. We can't do anything on the adult side at this point in time. Adult recreation activities are not permitted unless they are part of the restrictions exemption program. So that would mean our Sunday night guys and probably our noon hour guys, to be able to participate legally would be required to have proof of vaccination. And I don't think the Sunday night guys want to go down that road. And I don't think even we want to go down that road with our noon hour guys at this point. Not needless to say, I know with some of our drop-in groups at Centennial Place, the adults, we've had discussions with them about if they want to move forward, they'll have to have the restrictions exemption in place. So pickleball has moved forward in that manner, requiring anybody who's there to play to have proof of vaccination. And yesterday we made a late decision in discussion with an individual who played volleyball that was willing to step up and ensure that vaccine proof was provided. So they were going to start last night. And I know we typically have drop-in basketball, I believe, on Wednesday nights. And if we have someone there who wants to assume that role from the group, we will let the basketball guys move forward. I think that's something we could move forward with noon hour hockey as well. We've tried to, at least at Centennial Place, tried to not be the enforcement or the police around it, because generally we have, young staff that are working in the evenings, and we know how passionate of a discussion this can be with some people. And we didn't want to put our staff in that position of trying to ask, an adult for a proof of vaccination who didn't have it and was mad that they had to have proof of vaccination to participate. So if the groups wanted to step up and do that, we basically said, we'll let you guys do that and you guys police it on your own. So noon hour hockey may be able to go that way if there's someone who wants to step up. Noon hour hockey is a little bit different too, from the fact that we have adult staff who are there who can deal with a disgruntled person if we need to. I just think the Sunday night guys at this point, it's too hard. And I know that there would be probably a significant number of them that are unvaccinated that they probably wouldn't have enough for a team. So if this drags on for a long time and we've got some of the Sunday night guys who really want to play, and we might be able to then work something out with them, and it might be different, but it might be if you're vaccinated, you can come play on Sunday nights, and they set some sort of thing up. I know it's a pain and nobody really wants to do it, but those are the regulations right now. So Councillor Olson.
Thanks, Kim. Yes, I just want to clarify. I agree with everything. We don't want to put our staff in that spot to have those confrontations. Nobody should have to deal with that. So we're just 1/3 capacity, correct? Yes. For public things.
Yeah.
So the frustrating part is, and we had issues with it when we first started, was of course obey the rules, but to enforce stronger, like right now in Centennial Place for dance and stuff, it's very clear they're not allowed to hang out in the building. So I'm just curious, is that going to go over into the arena? Like, are parents not going to be allowed to watch their kids? Because dance, yes, they don't sit there watch the whole time, but if they exist during dance practice, then they'd be allowed in to, watch the last few minutes. But as of right now, they're getting told from Director Snell that they're not allowed to wait there at all. And again, I don't want, some probably are, I haven't been there much, but we don't want staff to have to enforce it, but it would be easier to just say 1/3 capacity, wear your mask.
Yeah, the challenge I see, Councillor Olson, is not that not that we're not going to encourage them to hang out. The challenge is, if you're supposed to be at 1/3 capacity, which we've got lots of capacity in the arena, lots of capacity in Centennial Place, is this expectation is that everyone is fully masked and they're physical distanced. And I know the challenge you get with dance is the area that they have to congregate in, while their children are dancing, is quite small, to say the least. So if you have, even if you had 5 or 10 parents there, it's probably hard to do that. I don't have any issues, Councillor Olson, with them hanging out if they wanted to hang out in the lobby downstairs. Or I think the key thing for us is to meet the requirements is they need to be masked and they need to be physically distanced unless they're not the same household. And that's where it gets challenging. In the arena, that's where it'll get a little bit challenging. They've got a little more space to be able to do that. And I'm not sure from minor hockey side. I know last year Hockey Alberta was basically like one parent in, one parent out, trying to get them in quickly, get them out quickly. I'm not sure if that is still going to be in play, but certainly from Centennial Place side, it is a work in progress. And I don't know, like I said, we're doing it a bit of a hybrid, trying where we can to get people in. But if we're not doing the exemption program, it's 1/3 capacity and physical distancing and masking. I just know the concern with dance was just that there's not a lot of space to get that physical distance, and everybody wants to be up in that small confined area. And that's where the challenges are. So I don't know if I explained that well, Councillor Olson, but
Yeah, it's just, well, it's contradictory on the
Yeah.
decisions that have been made already.
Yeah.
Because they are being told they're not to hang out. So I mean, it's due diligence, of course. You put the signs up, you tell people. But I mean, I'm not going to expect the staff to go up there and yell at people to don't have masks on or something. But I mean, from the town's point of view, you do your due diligence, put the signs up, tell people, and I mean, telling them they're not allowed, and again, increasing restrictions as opposed to what the province has, it's always been a struggle. So I just hope the messaging could be sent out that we are 1/3 capacity and it is allowed, and you have to wear masks, have to do that. And
yeah, I think that's, like I said, that's the challenge we've had with Centennial Place, I believe, is just that the area is so limited in terms of, and if you've got people coming and going, at that changeover mark, there's just so many people in that area that it's, pretty difficult to physical distance. And I know everybody has a different perspective on it and a different comfort level on it. And some of them will, and I don't want to say blatantly disregard, but some of them aren't concerned about being shoulder to shoulder with somebody. So yeah, we'll work through that, Councillor Olson. I know Gwen's away this week, but we'll work through that and try and get hopefully a reasonable compromise. So
thanks.
Just wait till our next council meeting. There'll be another change anyway. So good chance. But
so that's like we kind of delved into Centennial Place. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Centennial Place, as Councillor Olson said, 1/3 capacity. Fitness activities are allowed if it's solo or one-on-one. So fitness center is fine in that regard. Walking track, technically, you can walk. You should walk alone unless you're a member of the same household, or keep 3 meters apart. But Kitty's Corner is operating, dance is operating. So we're all operating there. The biggest one I have the concern with, and we'll have to have some serious discussions with, will be the curling club. I don't see how they move forward as a club to have a season. Because if they want to have a season, they'll probably have to have the exemption program in place, which would mean they'd have to monitor that, which also would probably mean that they've lost 30 or 40% of their participants who would be unvaccinated. And then is it financially, it's always a challenge for them, but then if it's financially feasible, you're going to have the same cost to operate the facility, and you're going to have 40% less revenue coming in from your members to curl. So they'll have to make that decision here in the next 2-3 weeks. So we'll have to continue to have that discussion with them. But I am concerned, partly because I'm a curler and I want to curl, but I am concerned that that might be one of the activities that doesn't get off the ground. So community center, slow go there. As you would expect, with the restrictions in place, we've had a number of bookings canceled. So we're going to continue to monitor that. You can still technically have something there, but following the restrictions makes it very challenging. So a lot of people have chosen we're not going to do it. Then this year we'll hope something opens up next year and we can do it. So I don't know if there's any other questions. That's kind of where I'm at in terms of what we're doing. I know it's, we're doing the best we can, and it'll be interesting once we get the hockey in. I know it's something my staff hates totally because they don't like being the police and don't like getting involved in that. And I think we're going to try and, for the most part, trust people are going to do the right things and people are going to follow the rules. If people are blatantly doing it and we get complaints, then our staff will step in and deal with it. But for the most part, we're going to let them hopefully manage it on their own and follow the restrictions as best that the people will. So it's a strange time again, unfortunately, but we will continue to bounce with the punches, I guess, and see how we can adapt and keep them open and keep as many people using them as we can. So I think that's all I have, Mr. Mayor, on that.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion that council accepts the town of Hana COVID-19 operating plan update dated September 29th, 2021 for information. Thanks, Councillor Campion. All in favor? That is carried. All right, that takes us to fire training tower. Did you want to just speak to that, Kim, a little bit?
No, just David will be over there waiting for us. So I know a couple of members have indicated they are not able to attend. So whoever's able to attend following this meeting will meet at the training tower, and David will give a tour, and hopefully if you have some time, he'll do a demonstration as well to those who can stay. I know there's some time restrictions and some people can't attend, but whoever can go over there, I know David's anxious to show it off. So
that's good then. Thank you. I won't be able to attend. I'm a little short staffed again, of course, so I'll have to deal with that. So sorry about that. All right, so no motion required on that. We'll go to council roundtable. I'll just go off my screen. I have Councillor Deadlock followed by Councillor Campion. Councillor Deadlock.
I haven't been doing a whole lot. I've been out of town most of the time, so nothing to report.
Okay. Any questions for Councillor Deadlock? Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Campion followed by Councillor Sickle. Councillor Campion.
Hey, I won't be attending the fire hall thing. I got an appointment here in a while. And also I talked to Sean about the demo thing at the Seymour. I noticed that pile of stuff where they were bringing out the mattresses and the bed frames and everything. I said to Sean, I'm hoping that they can separate the metal from the other stuff, because that is going to create a big problem for us at the landfill. So other than that, everything is going good. I had a big country waste meeting and the Red Deer River meeting last week, so everything went pretty good there. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions for Councillor Campion? Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Stickle followed by Councillor Jensen. Councillor Stickle.
Yes, not much to report. We have 3 cases of COVID at Concert Lodge, so the lodge is locked down up there. So far, we're good in town here. Owen has a couple suspects, but not proven yet. So other than that, that's about it. I'm heading to a Palliser meeting as soon as this one's over, so we'll find out more about that one.
Okay, any questions for Councillor Stickle? Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Stickle. Takes us to Councillor Jensen, followed by Councillor Olson. Councillor Jensen.
Not a whole lot, just we're about a week and a couple days in with our new director at the library. So things are going along there, and jam packing as many meetings in between now and October 18th as possible before my time on the board is done. But yeah, that's about it.
Okay, well, you know that there's always room for people at large to sit on the library meeting as well. So, even though you're not a councillor, you can always volunteer for that. I'll leave that.
Yes, I've already received an application for that.
Just saying, okay. Is there any questions for Councillor Jensen? All right, thank you for that, Councillor Jensen. Councillor Olson, followed by Councillor Bowden. Councillor Olson.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of stuff with Learning Center going through, working with Insight as well for marketing and rebrand and refresh, all that jazz. Pet meeting, some interesting stuff there. I'm trying to do some more reading before I comment a whole lot on it. Golf course sadly closes on Sunday. Everything seemed to go well so far this year. The usual staffing shortages, of course, as everything goes through, but yeah, things are moving along.
Okay, any questions for Councillor Olson? Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Bowden.
Yeah, I was attended the PEP meeting as well. There is lots of activity going on. I think they had mentioned something about 3 wind turbine projects on the go that they may be involved with some of the equipment and such. But yeah, there's a lot of material going on, so I didn't get through all of it. The medical clinic, we had a meeting the other day, and they had interviewed 2 candidates, a male and a female, both family oriented. And they were toured around and were very impressed with everything that Hana has to offer. Their kids were excited about the school that we have, and they were going to make an offer to one of the candidates. Other than that, I don't have much of anything else.
Okay, any questions for Councillor Bowden? Okay, thank you for that. For me, I didn't have much going on. I did have another interview with CBC reporter from Toronto, just regarding virtually the change in our energy employment in their area, regarding mostly the mine and the power plant, but it was just kind of the same old type of interview that I've had. So other than that, there wasn't much going on. Is there any questions for me? Okay, good, thank you. And with that, I don't know, we don't need a motion for that because there is no written reports. Councillor Bowden, sorry.
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the mayor's garden party.
Mhm.
I did attend that and just greeted people at the door, and they were very pleased and flattered to have the town recognize them again this year. And that is all I want to say. They were very grateful and thank you.
Excellent, thanks for that, appreciate that. That's awesome. Okay, so I guess if there's nothing else, that takes us to adjournment. So I will declare all business being completed at 10:08 and this meeting adjourned. Thanks, folks. Well done. And I guess we will have our final council meeting in a few weeks. So yeah, a bittersweet type of thing. So there we have it. All right,
Mr.
so
Mayor,
folks, yes,
just
Mr. Neal.
I think I just want to confirm. So Councillor Olson, Councillor Bowden, Councillor Deadlock, are you guys going to be at the?
Yep.
No, I'm not able to. Sorry.
Okay, so just the 2 of you. If you could head over there shortly, I'll be over there right away, and Dave's probably there waiting for us.
Is it
Sounds
worth
good.
is it worth him starting all that equipment for just the 2 of us, or should we reschedule?
Well, in terms of starting all the equipment, at the end of the day, Councillor Bowden or Councillor Deadlock, we'll be fine. He can give you a tour if you want a demonstration. We can certainly ask him. I think he's prepared for that. So, I'd like to see it too. I'm gonna be over. I haven't seen it, so
It's big fires. I'm in. I want to see it.
It'll warm us up today.
okay.
All right.
I'll see you over there then.
Okay, thank you.
I did have just one more question. Is there, so there's a forum being
Planned.
performed? Okay, and that's on Monday,
Monday
is that
night.
correct? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good. And
Just
that's-
while we were on this meeting, I did get some emails.
Okay,
So it looks like the chamber's made a decision to hire Reality Bites to video it. So they'll have the candidates only in the community center. They'll video it and have the audio and all the stuff they need to deal with it that way. We had originally talked potentially just a virtual one like this, but they're moving forward in that direction. So yeah, it says on Monday night, so right away, so.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I just hadn't really received anything on that. So yeah, excellent. Thank you for that. Okay, folks, we'll have a great, oh, Councillor Jensen.
Sorry, just with that forum thing. So if they're doing something like that, does that provide opportunity for people to ask questions and whatnot, kind of like we had last time? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
they're having reality bites.
Oh, what's Lori's saying no. So, okay, fill us in, Lori.
I think it's still, I'm just trying to quickly read this email, but if it's Reality Bites doing it, I don't believe there will be an opportunity to ask live questions. I think the questions would have to be pre-submitted. But they're a little bit late coming out of the gate on organizing it. And if it's a Reality Bites option, they'll be pretty much managing it. So I don't know how they would do live questions. So I think if it's done that way with the candidates in one room, that there won't be the ability to accept questions from the viewing public.
Okay. Councillor Deadlock, did you have?
I'm just wondering with Reality Bites doing it, the reason they're doing it is because they wanted 10 mics so that they weren't sharing a mic. So I'm not sure why.
It's not about the sharing of the mic. It's about the sound in the community center.
No, but I mean, the question.
The sharing of the mic though. They didn't want to use one mic. They wanted multiple mics. So if they're having mics, like how are they going to get the questions is the question I have.
Well, the questions will have to feed into whether they're pre-questions that are submitted to the chamber beforehand that the moderator will have to ask, or whether there'll be the ability, and that's what we'll have to figure out, whether there will be the ability to have questions sent in live that somehow get to the moderator, who then would ask the question. So at minimum, there will be the opportunity for pre-submitted questions, and hopefully they can figure out a way to have some live questions, but it'll be a matter of how that question gets to the moderator so the moderator can ask it. So.
Okay, well, we'll just see what transpires at that point in time. Okay, folks, again, great job. Thank you to all the organization, of course, and yeah, have a great couple of weeks, and we'll see you at our next meeting.